Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders About podcast. Today, I have another great guest, my new good friend Robyn from Wales, originally from Belfast, if I recall correctly.
That's right.
We had a call about 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Think so.
2 weeks ago. Great call, great chat. And I knew from the get-go that I had to bring her here on the podcast, share a story. We were connected by the one and only legendary Stephen Gillen that I have yet to talk to, and I can't wait to talk to him. And since we get connected to our dear friend Deborah, Stephen has been flooding me with amazing people. One of them right here in front of me. I'm grateful. And a little bit about Robyn. I said she's doing a lot of good things. She's currently working on her book. The book is scheduled to launch on July 25th. It's about she works with people who have unexplained chronic conditions, and she's helping them overcome that, just like she's been able to overcome that herself. That's her gift. It's her story, and now she's sharing it through her books. Her book, the first one, which is going to be a big milestone. I'm excited for that. And she used to have 3 podcasts. So as a fellow podcaster, it's always, kindred connection. We're talking about that, and there's a lot more we can uncover. So I'm excited to have you here. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, Payman. It's great to be here.
Pleasure's all mine. So tell us, we're going to talk about your business, your impact, and all that in a moment. But for people who don't know you, tell us, who's Robyn as a person, as a human being, as a woman?
Well, I'm somebody who loves nature. I've always loved being outdoors, loved being with animals. I'm fascinated by the natural world and all of its beauty and its intricacy and its wisdom as well. It has so many things to teach us. It has so much, and we are just a part of nature. As human beings, we tend now, most of us, we live in towns, we live in cities, we live in houses, and we have detached to a degree from our understanding of how much a part of nature we actually are. But I think getting back to that, so I'm passionate about rewilding ourselves, reconnecting with nature, reconnecting with the wisdom of our own inner nature, but also of the nature all around us and how that supports us to well-being.
Awesome. We're going to unpack all that in a moment. But first of all, I'd like to ask you a series of rapid-fire questions to get to know you further as a person. Ready?
Ready.
All right. What makes you happy as a person?
Being outdoors, being in nature, being with friends, being with animals.
Love that. What makes you smile?
All of the above. And the beauty of nature and looking at things in a different way, because this is a funny one, but since we moved here to Wales and I've got horses, so I'm outdoors and I'm poo picking in the fields, and we have dung beetles. And from the top, a dung beetle is black and it looks a bit boring, but when it flips over, it's incredibly beautiful. Or if you look at a leaf and the intricacies of a leaf or a feather, and they're just so awe-inspiring. I just can get lost in something like that, or the ocean, or a sky full of stars, all of these things.
Love that. Now, what sets your heart on fire? What makes your soul smile?
Spending time with friends, working with somebody who arrives with their face creased and looking anxious, and by the end of the session, those anxiety lines have gone and been replaced by a smile, and seeing people's eyes light up when they realize that their body is their friend. It's actually working for them. Dis-ease isn't something to be afraid of. It's actually our body doing what it can to support us and to share wisdom with us. So seeing people experience those aha moments, those shifts, that really lights me up.
I'm with you. We talked about happiness. Now let's take a look at the other side of the spectrum. What makes you sad and angry?
I recently joined a group on Facebook, which is, it's called something like Women Against Tai Chi, because that's a place in Japan where they round up dolphins and they send them off for captivity, you know, like shows, the big water shows in like America and things like that, where we as human beings seem to think we know better than nature, we control nature, nature is ours to plunder, rather than, as I was saying earlier, we're a part of nature. As we take from nature, we're taking from ourselves, and we're changing the whole ecosystem and how it all has been evolving to work together, be interconnected and interdependent. And once we upset that balance, then everything goes out of balance, including ourselves and our well-being. So that kind of thing, any kind of abuse or misuse of the resources that we've been blessed to live within, that are there for everybody's good, not to be used and abused.
Yeah, that reminds me of bullfighting in Spain. You know, they tease and tease a poor bull until finally they slowly kill him. That's really inhuman. You know, I can't stand it. And somehow I feel kind of, I wouldn't say happy, but relieved when I see the bull getting back at those guys, you know, and hitting them.
Anytime you see somebody who's vulnerable, be that an animal or a person or a child, and then they can take back their power again, that's incredible. No matter who that being is who's been subjected to something from somebody else, when they can take their own power back, that's amazing.
And wild animals are not meant to be house pet. Like there's some people in some part of the world, like say in the Middle East, just to flex their power, they have like lions and tigers at home as pets. That's beyond, I mean, understanding for me. I mean, first of all, these animals do not belong in the house. It is incredibly dangerous because at the end of the day, they're still wild animals. Just one attack and you're gone. You're destroyed.
And then we blame the animal.
And they kill the animal. Yes, after that. For what? Let them be themselves. Let them be in nature. That's where they belong.
And that's true for all of us.
Just like we belong.
To allow us to be ourselves and to express who we really are.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. What scares you?
I think the thought of not being able to do that, not being able to express myself, not being able to fully step into who I am as a person, and the same for anyone else. I hate to see people being restricted or feeling, because of conditioning, because of fear, because of shame, of which there can be so much in our society, that they feel they have to reduce who they are, be less for whatever reason.
Yeah, indeed. I'm with you. What would you say is your number one personal superpower?
I think it's that I sometimes see things from quite a different perspective, and I bring that different perspective and can then help people to see things. And even just that small shift can be so powerful. Just stepping over and seeing things in a different light can make such a big difference to our understanding. And being able also to see from lots of different perspectives, which means we get a much more rounded picture, because sometimes we're looking at things and we're basically seeing a 2D image. We're not getting all of the nuances because we haven't looked from a different perspective.
Indeed, indeed. What is one thing that you used to value that you don't value anymore?
I think external validation. And of course, it's still nice, but I don't think I chase it in the way that I used to. I used to be dependent on it. When I was like at school or at university or later, I always needed somebody else to validate me and tell me what I was doing was good or good enough. But what is good enough? And I never seemed to reach that point. But
and
I
who
think
are there to decide that, you know?
Yes, exactly.
It's a big question.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, on the flip coin, what is one thing that you did not value, but now you're valuing more and more?
My own inner nature and how it guides me. Listening to my heart and my gut and following those. And being prepared to give things a go. Whereas before I was too afraid to fail, too afraid of people looking at me and saying I wasn't good enough and I wasn't doing things well enough. So that would hold me back. But now it's, well, your opinion is your opinion, and that's fine. You have every right to have your opinion, but it doesn't
Absolutely.
necessarily have to be mine. I
Totally.
don't have to rely on that.
Totally. What would you say are your non-negotiable core values?
Integrity,
Mm-hmm.
being heart-centered, and being true to ourselves. So like I said, listening to our gut and letting that speak to us, letting it guide us.
Indeed, indeed. You like traveling, don't you?
I do, yes.
We can do an entire episode just on traveling, but I want to take you down a different type of traveling, down memory lane. Go back to, when we were kids growing up, people around us, family, relatives, teachers, friends, neighbors always ask us, hey, Robyn, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer to that question as a little girl?
I never really knew, but once I got to school, secondary school, and kind of when you started to do the career stuff at school, that level, at that point, I wanted to be a sign language interpreter because I had come across sign language. I was fascinated by sign language, and I'd seen somebody doing that role, sign language interpreter, and I thought, wow, that's pretty special. I want to do that.
Love that. Growing up, what was your relationship with school? Did you love school or did you hate school?
Both, I think. I loved my friends and the interaction with my friends. I loved the science subjects, biology, I pretty much liked chemistry, physics. Biology was my absolute favorite. The stuff I wasn't good at, I did not like. So I wasn't great at English. English literature really wasn't my thing, but I think that was partly the books that we were told we had to read, and they just weren't my kind of book. Maths, I wasn't great at maths. Geography, history, but so there were some subjects that I really didn't like, and there were some subjects that I loved, and I loved learning. So love, hate.
What was your favorite subject at school?
Biology would have been my favorite, learning about animals and plants and nature. Surprise.
Did you enjoy dissecting the frog and
No, I didn't enjoy that. I loved learning about, so, you get a picture in a book and a diagram, and my mum had a fantastic book that was human anatomy, and the pages were see-through. So you could like layer, you could have the skeleton and then put the muscles on and then put the connective tissues on, tendons and ligaments and stuff, and then skin. And yeah, I love that.
Wow, amazing. Was there any subject that you could not stand?
History.
Why?
Because it just felt like it was all names and dates, and it wasn't the stuff I wanted to learn. It wasn't people's stories.
Yeah.
I love now reading historical novels or autobiographies or biographies where it's people's story and you get to see a slice of history from their perspective and their experience. And I like watching movies that are biographical as well, but just history, dates, kings, queens, politics, no.
Exactly. I'm with you. Imagine we're in the same class in grade 10, 11. What kind of student were you? Were you the shy type, the nerdy type, the chatterbox, the superstar? What kind of girl were you back then?
I was probably the SWAT. So head in a book, SWAT,
okay.
head in a book working. I guess that would be a term for it, yeah.
Okay. SWAT. I haven't heard the word SWAT. That's probably maybe a more British word.
British word, probably, yeah.
We don't use that in Canada much, but yeah, okay, good. SWAT. How do you spell that? SWOT?
Yeah. Or
Alpha.
SWAT. I'm not actually sure.
Okay. I hope it's not the SWAT team, huh? No, cool. And school, whether in high school or college, were you popular with the boys?
No. I think I was too much of a SWAT, too much of a nerd, too much in my books, too shy.
Hmm. Speaking of shyness, how did you, how much of a shy person were you?
Very, very, very. I didn't want to be seen. The idea of speaking in public, the idea of being the center of attention, I would just want to run away and hide.
And how was that, first of all, how was that holding you back in your life? What are some of the opportunities that you missed as a result of being very shy?
I'm sure there were many opportunities to go places, do things that I just, it would have filled me with fear, would have made me cower, and also just blush and then be even more embarrassed because I'm bright red. I don't know that I would even have noticed what those opportunities were, but maybe things like being in the school play. We had a choir, I sang in the choir, but I would have liked to take that further. I never did, because I enjoyed the singing, but I always wanted to be in the back row where nobody could see me or hear that it was me, standing out doing a solo or anything like that.
Absolutely. How did you overcome your shyness?
I think it was just a side effect of my journey where I started to realize it's okay to be me. It's okay to stand up and own who I am. I don't have to shout about it, but if I get the opportunity to do something that puts me front and center, that's okay.
Indeed. So, what was your very first job? Do you remember what was it? And do you remember how much you get paid the first time you worked?
My first job was like a training scheme. So I had a year's fixed contract and I worked in a church for deaf people.
Oh, wow.
In Belfast.
Do you remember how much you got paid the first time you worked in your life?
I think it was £99 a week. So I don't know how that translates. And that is back in the beginning of the 1990s. So a good while ago.
Okay, wow. Cool. Let's move forward. How would you describe your path from the moment you left school to now? Would you say it was pretty much straightforward, smooth sailing? Once you're into one lane, you were set for life, or was it more turns and twists like a roller coaster?
It was very much the roller coaster, ups and downs and twists and turns and plot twist, starting off in one way and then, oh, no, that's not happening. I'm going completely in the opposite direction. And then that's not happening, completely in the opposite direction again. Yeah.
But truthfully, isn't it not more fun, exciting that way?
Definitely more interesting. I think at the time, I probably would not have said it was fun or exciting. But looking back, I can see where each step gave me tools that I use probably to this day and going forward. And it certainly means that I have a richness to my life that and like we were talking before about having that 3D perspective, I have that much more. And I did become a sign language interpreter. So I went into lots of different scenarios because wherever a deaf person was doing something, I was there, whether they were going to hospital or they were going to a presentation from somebody famous, or they were going to a course to learn something, whatever it was, I was there with them doing the interpretation. So I got to see inside of lots of different worlds that I would never have had the opportunity to otherwise. I also got to travel places that I might never have been to otherwise. So it was colorful and it was interesting. And as time went on and I began to enjoy it, then yes, it became really good.
What got you initially into becoming a sign language interpreter? Is it you had someone in your family that inspired you, or just something that you were just drawn to?
I don't remember it, but my mum says that when I was 3, there was a boy who lived up the street, and he was 6, he was deaf, and he didn't speak, he didn't have hearing aids at that time, he didn't use sign language. But because we were the only kids in the area, we played together. And being 3 years old, you just accept people. You don't think you're different or you're weird.
Don't judge, yeah.
But he couldn't speak to me, and I probably didn't speak all that much at 3. So we just played in whatever way visually together.
The hands, yeah.
Yeah, gestures. Here, do you want this toy? I want that toy, or whatever it was, or let's go over there. And then years later, we had a television program, a series called Vision On, and it was all about art, but occasionally they had a deaf person on there. And I think I just saw that language and I was fascinated by it. I think it was also because I was so shy. I didn't want to speak up and speak out, but this was a language that you didn't have to. It's potentially a silent language. There isn't any sound element to it. That's not to say that deaf people don't make sound, but the language itself doesn't need sound. And this fascinated me. And then I went on when I was 16, I started learning sign language, and then I was hooked. And that was it.
Oh,
Yeah.
it must have opened a completely new world for you.
It did. So that's another different perspective, because the deaf perspective is a very visual perspective, and you do see the world very differently, like you do with any different language, different culture. If you really immerse yourself in it, there are differences. Even coming from Ireland to living in the UK, mainland UK, it feels quite different. But I grew up in Belfast, that's Britain. It's the UK. Living in England and living in Wales, it still feels like, ooh, this is a different country. We both speak English, but it's a different country. It feels like the culture. The culture in Wales feels more similar, but in England it feels quite different.
Your story reminds me, I had 2 incredible people on my podcast, maybe 6 months, 12 months ago. An amazing couple from the US, Barbara and Dr. Norm. Dr. Norm has been deaf, 3/4 deaf for 50 years of his life. And they met when they were in college, very young. They fell in love. And because she loved him so much, she went to study sign language in college. But sorry, they were both, I think they were both going this, he was going to that to learn, but because he couldn't hear, he brought her with her to school to help him. So in the process, she basically was taking the course without being registered. So she said, I might as well just take it. So she became a sign language interpreter. And now they've been married for 50 years. An incredible story. If you want, I can connect it to them. Amazing couple.
I would love to, but if they're in America, their sign language is going to be different.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it not universal?
No, each country has its own sign language, just as we have our own spoken languages for the hearing
Wow,
mode.
I did not know that. Wow.
An American sign language is related to the language in South Ireland and in France. Whereas
Really? Wow.
in the UK, it's similar to what they use in Australia and New Zealand.
Really? So tell me 2 or 3 things that you guys use in the UK that might be different in the US, if you know anything.
The language is a different language, different lexicon, different vocabulary.
Really? Wow. Now my mind is blown, because I had no idea that was even possible. Like, wow. And so I love my podcast, learning about things I thought I knew and learning about things that I did not even know existed,
Yeah.
Wow. I'll connect it to them after this call. I'll connect.
Thank you.
You will love talking to them. They're absolutely adorable. And their story, if you want, I can send you the link to their episode. Listen to them. I interviewed each of them separately, and I had both of them together. Beautiful, beautiful conversations. Incredible people. I'll connect it to them.
Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, tell us about your business, your impact in the world. How are you sharing your gifts, and how are you making the world a better place?
Basically, I'm sharing my story and what I've learned. And I do that through one-to-one sessions, workshops, training, and speaking, being guest on podcast. And my mission really is to let people know that their bodies aren't letting them down, aren't working against them. Actually, our bodies are just doing what they believe they need to do in order to best survive a situation. But if that way of, if we're trying to survive something from a place of fear, from a place of feeling overwhelmed, from a sense of lack, then our strategies they'll be wonderful in the moment to get us out of the situation that's difficult, but if we're using them long term, they may not be serving us. And I think of it like a spare tire. We sometimes have a space saver spare tire in a car, and it's designed to get us from the breakdown, the puncture, the flat tire, to the nearest repair center, no further. And that's what our coping strategies in the moment of challenge are designed to do. Just get us through. And they're great. They do. We're still here. But if we keep running that strategy, if we don't swap it out like we swap the tire, if we don't swap it out for a proper good from our true nature strategy, then that can lead to dis-ease of one kind or another.
Yeah, wow. What's your ideal client avatar?
It would normally, the normal audience that I'm aiming at would be women. That's not to say that I don't work with men, but just the work that I do seems to attract more women in about their 40s, 50s, that kind of age range, and women who maybe have been diagnosed, as I said, with unexplained health conditions, chronic health conditions, maybe have experienced trauma of one kind or another. Or you just get to that point in life and you think, I thought things were going to be better by now. I thought I'd have it sorted when I was in my 30s, 40s, 50s. Still don't seem to have a handle on things. On paper, my life looks like it should be great, but I'm just not feeling fulfilled, or that my life is quite where I want it to be. And that can happen at work. It can happen when women hit the menopause and experience all those changes and suddenly, well, who am I and what's my life about? It can happen when their children grow up and move away, and then who am I? I'm not the mother anymore. I don't have that role. How do I define myself? Because so often we define ourselves through our roles rather than just, no, who am I?
Indeed, indeed. Wow. What is the main pain point you're solving for your clients?
That thing of, what's my body doing? It doesn't seem to be my friend anymore. It's not, it's going wrong. It's letting me down. I'm feeling a lot of dis-ease, or people as well with those chronic unexplained health conditions. The medical profession also often don't know what it is, why it's happened, how to make it better and make it go away. So they tell people you just have to manage those symptoms, and they might say, here's some medication to take. But if you don't want to be on that medication, if you're not comfortable in your body anymore and you don't really understand why, and you want to have an understanding and you want to approach things holistically, working with your body, that's what I work with.
Beautiful. Tell us about the structure of your program.
I have a specific analytical tool that I use, and it's called meta-consciousness. So I generally start by asking people to write me their timeline, telling me what's going on for them, how throughout their life, as far back as they can remember. And if they know what even their mum's gestation period was like, well, they were in the womb before birth. If they can include that as well, that's great. What their birth was like, and then coming forward, the significant emotional events, whatever they can remember or they know from family stories, just put it all down. It doesn't have to be like an essay. It can be in bullet points. It can be on a spreadsheet. And then I take that and I analyze it. And I look at what symptoms somebody is experiencing right now, and then where those might have come from in their timeline. Because like I was sort of saying earlier, when we have that moment of trauma, threat, overwhelm, we develop a strategy and we develop a belief and a thought process at that time. And if we're still running that, that's what I'm looking for. When I look at a symptom, what was that starting point? And where has that been kind of fed and exacerbated over time that has led to the situation potentially becoming chronic by the time somebody tends to come to me?
Usually, how long does it take for you to have your clients start seeing results?
Writing that timeline sometimes is enough for people to start seeing things differently. And because they're seeing things differently and their perspective has changed, they're already having aha moments, they're already having results. Then I do the analysis and I feed back what I find. Again, more aha moments, more starting to shift. And then once they've been through that part of the process, I start working with them on the things that I've found. And we co-create what's known as a solution map, which is basically a set of simple steps, and it looks at all aspects of our being. So it looks at the social, it looks at the physical, it looks at the emotional, the psychological, the spiritual, everything, how we can put all of that together to create a set of bespoke steps, and keeping it simple, keeping it fun. We tend to think that we've got these problems and they're big and they're scary and they're complex. So if I'm going to try and address them, it's going to be big. It's going to take a long time. It's going to be scary. It's going to be painful. It's going to be really complex. But I want to say to people, it's not. It's simple, fun steps. When you can keep the steps small and simple and fun, you'll want to do them. You will enjoy doing them. You'll be able then to do them consistently. And that's the thing that creates the shift. And the more you experience those shifts, then they're incremental, they build their own momentum. You just want more and more because you're having fun and you're moving forward and you can see that and experience that. So from the get-go, really.
Beautiful. Share with us an example of the most remarkable transformation you've seen from one of your clients.
The one that often sticks in my mind is somebody who came to see me, and she had been experiencing chronic fatigue and just general feeling of not being very well. And she was signed off sick with ME from her job. And her job was one of those ones where she worked for a company and she quite enjoyed it when she started, but the company was bought over and bought over and bought over. And basically her job changed and it became like she was in a call center where she had to account for every second of the day. She hated it. She had so many targets to achieve and they were not really achievable. She didn't have any control over her day. She couldn't even get up for a walk or go to the loo or anything without having to account for every second. So she said to me, going into the office every day felt like a little death. And I said, well, yeah, that's your body telling you how much it hates that position. And you know it in your being anyway, and your head is telling you that you have to do this. And we looked into her timeline and her belief system, and we discovered why she believed she couldn't change anything. She had to keep sticking with the job that she hated so much, that was killing her and just making her body stop and say, you know, I'm not going to do this anymore. And when we'd uncovered that and she had that aha moment, it gave her the strength and the courage and the belief to leave her job and get a new job. And the job that she got next was an interim job because she knew what she wanted to do. She wanted to take some training and qualify in the thing that she really, her heart just knew that was the right way for her. So the next job that she got, the interim job, had her on her feet all day long. So from being signed off sick with ME, chronic fatigue, she went to a job that had her on her feet all day long. And while she was doing that job, she trained for her next job, which she got. So did she have ME, or was her body just saying, this really isn't working for me. I need out. I need to do what lights me up. I need to do what brings me joy.
Wow. Powerful indeed. How are you getting new clients?
I think mostly it's just what I share, because as I say, I speak about what I do. I post quite a lot on social media. People come to me when they see a post maybe that resonates for them. I speak, do public speaking, and I network. So in that sense, it's word of mouth and
Beautiful.
recommendations from people that I've worked with.
Yeah. You mentioned you had a podcast. You had 3 podcasts before. Did you use your podcast for your business?
It was more to share information. So the one that I was mentioning to you earlier, that I had guests, that was my favorite podcast. I loved doing that one. And I met so many amazing people. But the people I invited, they all had different perspectives on well-being, which was what I wanted to share with my audience, because we sometimes think of well-being as the health information that we maybe receive from the health system. So what you should eat or shouldn't eat, and the exercise that you should do, and all of that sort of should. And you got this tick list of things to do. Whereas I wanted to say, no, well-being is everything. Well-being is every single part of your life, no matter what that is. It's what you put into that part of your life is what you're going to get back in terms of your well-being. So I had artists, I had photographers, I had a jewelry maker, and nutritionists, and people who did different body work things. So whether that was massage or qigong or whatever it might be. I had a homeopathic person. I had somebody who did essential oil work. So just bringing all of these things together, and most of them also were related to nature, and they brought elements of that in, again, because we are nature, and that part of us needs nourishing and nurturing too.
Totally. Wow. Beautiful. I can see that you're very passionate about your line of work and your business. When did you realize that this is your true calling in life?
When I had been through my own journey, and having experienced the shift that I had, because I was miserable. I didn't want to be here anymore. I was considering ending my life.
What? Wow.
Yeah, I just wanted out. You just get to the point where I want this pain to stop. I've tried. I felt like I've tried everything and nothing is working. If I can't change this, what's the point? My life is so miserable. I'm making everybody else around me miserable. They'd be better off without me.
Yeah.
That was the point that I had reached. And having found what I actually really needed, which wasn't those external things, finding that I did have what it took within me. And that's not to say I couldn't reach out and I couldn't ask for help. I had to do it all by myself. That's not true, but I got to choose. That's what I got to do. I got to choose, I got to look, I got to find what was right for me, rather than going to other people and saying, make me better. What's wrong with me? So having gone through that process and come out the other end, and now life is a joy. Life is bright, life is colorful.
Life is a game.
Yeah, life is an adventure. I get to look forward to every day. Every day has at least one thing in it that I'm going, whoa, what's that going to be like today? What fun is that going to bring into my life? What laughter, what joy can I find in that thing? And I'm sure most days it's many, many more than just one thing. But having got to that point, and then seeing people around me who were where I was, I wanted to share with them the potential for change, and that it didn't have to be big and scary. It could just be little small steps that they get to choose, that it's their life. And we only have this one experience in this human body. And I believe that we are here to get as much of that, get as much out of that as we can, to enjoy it, and I think for me, our purpose is to be as me as I can be. So I wanted to encourage other people. That's what it's actually about. You don't have to achieve anything that, society's views on success. If that's not for you, that's not for you. If it is for you, fine, follow that. But if it isn't for you, don't feel you're the one that's wrong. Go within, listen. So I wanted to share not so much a set of steps, do this, and your life will be wonderful, but to actually give people the tools to adopt and adapt and use in their way that will create the perfect life for them.
Indeed, beautiful. Love that. What's next for you?
Well, the book is coming out. And so what I would love to do is to share that story and get more opportunities to speak and to share, and just to then support people to do workshops, because I love running workshops. As you said, I'm passionate about this stuff. I love speaking about this stuff. I love seeing the change it makes when other people have that aha moment, that realization of, my body's working for me. Life is working for me. It doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to feel miserable. It can be fun. I can wake up every morning and think, yay, what do I get to do today? So that's,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I want to do more of.
Yeah. Public speaking can really, but when I say public speaking, it doesn't have to be public speaking on a stage. It can be as simple as you speaking to your computer with a microphone on a live, or even better, on your own podcast. So I strongly believe, I know so, that for you a podcast would be a no-brainer, because you have a very specific goal, very specific gift and zone of genius that you've been blessed with, and the best way to share that gift. And you said you love interviewing people, is to actually talk with those people, find those. So I will be hosting another 5-day challenge, but this time at a time that actually works for you guys in the UK and in Europe later this month. So I highly recommend you attend that one, because that's going to really show you exactly how to implement that and blow your mind away, as it's done for the people that have attended those, all of my previous, and even the one I just finished last week, because that's what it's about. Find your zone of genius and your gift and share them through the podcast by having heart-to-heart conversations, speaking from your heart, to build rapport and trust. And that's when the magic happens. That's when people come to you to do business. They ask, hey, what do you do? Can you help me? Sure, let's set up a time to talk without any friction. It's all natural, magnetic.
Yeah.
The way business should be done, from my perspective.
I agree. And I'm really looking forward to that. And I have another colleague, as I was saying earlier, before it became live, I think, that there is somebody, we are talking about collaborating and running a podcast or something together.
Wow.
So I might also, she's not in the UK. I'm not sure how the timings would work for her, but maybe I will put her in touch with your next one.
Where is she based?
I think she's South Africa somewhere.
South Africa is pretty much the same time zone as the UK.
It's not far out. Yeah.
Well, it's far distance wise, but it's the same line.
That's what I mean. It's not far out time wise. I think where she is might be an hour or something difference.
Yeah. So yeah, connect me to her. I'd love to have a conversation with her, and I will let you know when the next, the UK, if that was the first one we do in the UK, will kick off. It's going to be a fun one. And I'm looking forward to having you. And we're going to have a big turnout, because we're creating some great momentum. That's all I can say for now.
Yeah, sounds exciting.
Awesome. Now, to finish off, I'd like to ask a series of rapid fire questions to further get to know you. Ready?
Fire away, yes.
All right. What is the best piece of advice you've received so far in your life?
I think that is listen to your body. Listen to what's right for you, because lots of people like to give advice, but that's what's true for them, not necessarily what's true for you. You can ask for advice, but you don't have to follow it.
Listen to your body, and I would add to that, if I may, listen to your intuition, to your instinct, to your gut feeling, to that voice in your head, because that's your soul talking to you. Now, what is the worst piece of advice you've received so far?
I think it was anything that was from another person's perspective that didn't work for me. And I thought that that was something I should do or had to do. And my body was going, this does not feel right, but I wasn't listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Imagine that you were blessed with a time machine. You can go back in time and speak to the 18-year-old Robyn. What's the first piece of advice? Sorry, what's the number one piece of advice you would give to her, knowing all that you know now?
Trust in the process, and you're doing okay.
Yeah.
Where you are right now, you're doing okay. Just hang in there. Keep going, keep breathing. Be gentle with yourself. Get curious rather than
absolutely.
Judging.
Yeah. Imagine that you have your podcast is very popular, and today you're interviewing the most special person in the world, and that is yourself. What is the first question you want to ask yourself? Don't think too much. First thing that comes to your mind.
I'd be asking something around what lights me up. What do you enjoy? What brings joy and fun into your life?
And what's your answer?
Pretty much everything at the moment. Life, just enjoying, like I said. I think that life is there to be experienced, to get as much as we can out of it. And for me, it's also about that curiosity rather than, oh, this is terrible, why is this happening to me, which was very much where I was. Now it would be more like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder why. I wonder what I can learn from this. I wonder how I can laugh with this, even when it looks like there's no fun in that whatsoever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Love that. Now, if someone wants to connect with you, what's the best way to do so?
I have my website, which is equenergy.com, EQUENERGY.com. And for anything that's to do with speaking, I'm the wildwellbeingspeaker.co.uk. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
Awesome. Awesome. Listen, Robyn, love talking to you. Love your passion. You can see it's really what you're really passionate about. Keep shining your light. Keep blessing the world. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep sharing your gifts. Keep blessing the world with your gift, your message, your smile, your passion. Stay safe. Stay awesome. God bless you, my friend. We're definitely going to talk again soon. In the meantime, as we say back home, have a fantabulous day ahead of you.
Thank you so much, Payman. It's been great chatting with you today.
Very welcome. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.